In February 2026, the market is doing something that makes homeowners panic for the wrong reason. Single family median price reads $3,220,000, down from $4,350,000 a year earlier. But inventory is sitting at just 38 active homes across Manhattan Beach. So if you're standing in your kitchen in the hill section thinking, should I sell this spring or hold? The real question isn't, is the market up or down? The real question is whether your home will get positioned correctly before the market forces you into the discount most sellers are taking from the original list price. Give me the next few minutes and I will show you the numbers that decide that. If you're thinking about selling the next 3 to 6 months, this is the moment where homeowners make costly mistakes. Not because you're careless, but because the headline pushes you towards emotion and the underlying market is demanding precision. Here is the trade-off you are actually weighing. You can sell into scarcity, meaning fewer direct competitors than usual, or you can wait for a different season and hope the buyer pool feels stronger. The risk of waiting is that inventory rises, rates shift, or your street picks up friction before you list. The risk of selling now is that you anchor to last year's pricing and the market corrects you in public, which usually costs you time, momentum, and net proceeds. And there is one wild card that matters more in Manhattan Beach than most homeowners want to admit: visible construction and street disruption. Even when the citywide KPIs look stable, the buyer experience on your block can shrink your buyer pool fast, especially in a market where buyers are already moving more slowly. Let me make this feel like real life. Picture a Saturday where you swing through the sand section, then up towards Porto, then back near Sepulveda. Same city, same weekend, but buyers are reacting to completely different experiences. Some streets feel effortless, others feel loud, tight, or under construction. In 2026, buyers are not just buying a home, they are buying the weekly rhythm of your block. So I'm going to simplify Manhattan Beach into 2 lanes. One lane is single family home citywide. That is the equity engine here, and it is where scarcity is most obvious. The other lane is condos and townhomes citywide. That is where supply is looser, the data is thinner, and buyer behavior becomes more selective and more uneven. You'll hear me reference neighborhoods like the Sand section, Hill section, Tree section, East Manhattan Beach, and El Porto. I'm doing that to make this practical and street level. The KPIs I'm citing in this episode are citywide by property type. Your exact outcome depends on how your home compares inside your micro pocket, which is why the plan has to be built from both the citywide lane and your street level reality. In January 2026, condos and townhomes were sitting at 3.5 months of supply, up 59% from 2.2 a year earlier. That does not automatically mean condos are crashing. It means buyers have more options, and that changes how quickly they commit and which unit gets chosen. If you want this translated for your specific address but you aren't quite ready to get on a call, homeowners just like you use HomeBot, a monthly financial dashboard for your home. It tracks estimated equity, mortgage options, and buying power based on real-time rates. If you want that clarity, the link is in the description. I'm Mr. Hernandez, your real estate advisor here in Manhattan Beach. My job is not to hype the market. My job is to keep you out of the 2 traps that create regret. Trap 1 is reacting to the median like it applies to your street. Trap 2 is anchoring to last year's comps and letting this market grind you down slowly. So here's the roadmap. First, the single family lane, because that's where most homeowners have the most money at stake. Second, the condo and townhome lane, because it is behaving differently and you need to know whether your unit is in the chosen quickly bucket or the sitting quietly bucket. Then macro, briefly only the pieces that changes your buyer pool. Then construction and policy, because in Manhattan Beach, friction is often local, not national. Let's start with the single family market and let's handle the scary headline right away. Yes, the median sales price is down year over year, but in January 2026, there were only 11 single family sales. When volume is that low, the median can swing based on which homes happen to close. If more ultra luxury coastal closings happen in 1 month and more smaller homes close in the next, the median moves even if the underlying value shifts is smaller. So to understand what buyers are really paying, we look at price per square foot because it smooths out the mix problem. In January 2025, the median single family price per square foot was $1,822. In January 2026, it was $1,360. Said simply, valuations have reset. Even if part of the median move is mixed, buyers are underwriting value lower than last year on a per foot basis. Now let's talk about the market speed, because that's what you feel ratio when you list. In January 2025, the single family median days on market was 10 days. In January 2026, it was 30. That's a completely different market psychology. A 10-day market is urgency. A 30-day market is deliberation. Buyers are pausing, comparing, and negotiating. That slower tempo matters because it increases the cost of being wrong on day one. If buyers take longer to decide, a mispriced listing doesn't get a quick mercy offer. It just sits long enough for buyers to form an opinion. And the negotiation shows up clearly when you're compared to ratios. In January 2026, single family homes closed at 98.3% of the last list price, but 95.2% of the original list price. This is one of the most actionable tells in the whole data set. It means the market is not primarily beating sellers up at the finish line. Once a seller is aligned, buyers are paying close to that final ask. The pain is happening earlier between the original list and the final list. That is the reality gap. And that gap is where owner regret is born because it costs you time, momentum, and often net proceeds. Now I want to translate that into what you should do with it without pretending one pocket is hotter than another based on data we don't have. If you're a single family owner anywhere in Manhattan Beach, you might be wondering, if I list, does it actually move or am I going to sit and stress? In a 30-day market, sitting for a few weeks is no longer a red flag by itself. The risk is not time exists, the risk is time plus misalignment. The 98.3% figure tells us that once the home is aligned to what buyers will actually pay, it can still close to the final ask. So here's the decision rule, anchored to those KPIs. If the market is forgiving near the last list price but punishing from the original list price, your leverage lives in protecting the first positioning. Your goal is to avoid the slow bleed where the market educates you over time. You have a few paths and your best path depends on your goal. If your goal is a clean exit, your safest posture is alignment early so that you can use the first month as your highest leverage window. In a deliberative market, early momentum is still a premium. If your goal is to maximize every dollar, you can take that posture, but you need a plan for the trade-off. The trade-off is time and negotiation. In a market where buyers are paying close to the final ask but correcting the original ask, you do not want to be surprised by buyer pushback because surprise is what triggers emotional decisions. If selling is optional, you can choose a monitor posture, but you are making a real bet. You're betting that late spring brings a stronger buyer pool without bringing a big enough inventory increase to dilute the scarcity advantage you have right now. If you're buying a single family home in Manhattan Beach, you might be wondering, with prices resetting, do I wait for better or do I risk missing the few good homes because inventory is tight? Both risks exist in February 2026. Scarcity limits options. The resets in price per square foot suggest buyers have more discipline than last year. The posture that protects you is selective but prepared. You don't chase everything. You also don't assume the right home will sit because scarcity means the best fit listings still get chosen even in a slower market. Now let's make this practical across the neighborhoods people actually identify with while staying honest about the fact that the KPIs here are citywide. In the sand section, buyers often pay for lifestyle and walkability. If you own a single family home here, you might be wondering, does scarcity mean I can push or are buyers still holding the line? The citywide negotiation pattern answers the posture, even if it doesn't prove the exact sand section outcome. With 95.2% of the original list being the average landing point, the market is correcting overreach. With 98.3% of the last list, the market is still paying well for aligned homes. So the safer move is to not push harder. The safer move is to position the home so it feels like the cleanest yes in the lifestyle category, because in a 30-day deliberate market, anything that feels overpriced gives buyers permission to wait. If you're buying in the sand section, you might be wondering, is this a premium lane or am I buying into a downshift? The reset in price per square foot says underwriting is stricter than last year. Your safest filter is long-term hold quality. If you can see yourself owning it through a cycle, the reset can be an opportunity. If you need short-term appreciation to justify it, this is the wrong market to gamble. In the hill section, buyers are often making a bigger emotional decision, but they're still more deliberate than they were in the 10-day market. If you own a single family home there, you might be wondering, do I still have pricing power or is the market going to grind me down? The citywide behavior says aligned homes still get paid close to the final number, but ego pricing gets corrected between original and final. The risk management move is to make your home feel easy easy to say yes to because buyers are taking their time and comparing, and the market is not rescuing overpricing quickly anymore. If you're buying in the hill section, you might be wondering, do I have time now or do I still need to move fast? The days on market shift from 10 days to 30 tells you there is more breathing room, but the inventory at 38 tells you the right home can still be rare. The posture is calm readiness. Know your criteria, know your limits, and be decisive when the home truly fits. In the tree section in East Manhattan Beach, buyers tend to be more sensitive to payment math and total cost of ownership. If you own a single family home there, you might be wondering, are buyers going to nickel and dime me because they're cautious? In a market with a per foot reset and a longer tempo, buyers absolutely use condition and future cost as leverage. That's not buyer greed, it's buyer risk management at today's rates. So your best defense is clarity, not argument. The more uncertainty a buyer feels, the more they delay. And in a 30-day market, delay is leverage. If you're buying in these areas, you might be wondering, is this where I finally get negotiating room? The resets in underwriting and the slower tempo can create more room to be patient, but scarcity still means you don't get infinite options. Your posture is patient evaluation with readiness to act when the right life stage fit shows up. And in El Porto, the conversation is not just market, it is experience because development is visible. If you own a single family home near El Porto, you might be wondering, is construction going to cost me money when I sell? That depends on your exact streets and what the buyer experiences during a showing, which is why we don't generalize. What we can say with confidence is the risk management principle. In a deliberative market, visible friction reduces urgency and increases negotiation leverage faster than it did in a 10-day market. So you plan your timing and narrative around reality. You get ahead of obvious questions and you do not let the story drift. If you're buying near a Porto, you might be wondering, is this a risk or opportunity? The right posture is investigative. Visit at rush hour. Feel the parking. If the lifestyle works with the changes coming, you may find better terms while others hesitate. Now let's pivot to condos and townhomes because the market signals here are different and easy to misread. In January 2026, there were 14 active condo and townhome listings, up from 10 in December. Only 2 closed. That thin volume is why the headline median can be unstable. The median condo and townhome sales price printed at $4,025,000 in January 2026. That's the number that makes people say, wait, condos are stronger than houses? But here's the more reliable read, and it's about behavior. The units that did sell moved very fast, with a median days on market of 3, and they sold at 100% of their original list price. And condos and townhomes did not show the same per square foot resets as single family. The median price per square foot was $1,694 in January 2026, up from $1,622 a year earlier. Now connect those dots with months of supply, you have 3.5 months of inventory, meaning buyers have more options. You also have a tiny number of closings, meaning one luxury sale can move the median. And you have very fast full price outcomes for the units that do sell, meaning buyers are not generally lowballing everything. They are cherry picking. In plain English, this is not a one condo market. It's 2 behaviors at once. A grade turnkey inventory gets chosen quickly. The rest sits, which is why supply rises. If you are a condo or townhome owner in Manhattan Beach, you might be wondering, am I the one that gets chosen quickly or am I going to sit while buyers wait for something better? Your decision rule is simple. When buyers have options, quality and presentation do more work. If your home is turnkey, well lit and easy, the market can still reward you quickly, which is consistent with the days on market of 3 and 100% of the original list for homes that closed. If your home reads as a project, buyers can pass because they have more options, which is consistent with the 3.5 months of supply. So your paths look like this. If you want a clean exit, you compete on certainty. You make it the easiest yes in your set. If you want to maximize, you can, but you should expect buyers to be more selective about what they pay a premium for. Your strategy is to define what makes your unit A grade and anchor your pricing and presentation to that, not to the outlier closing that moved the median. If selling is optional, a monitor posture can be strategic if you need time to improve what buyers are filtering for right now, because this market is not paying up for uncertainty when options are rising. If you're buying a condo or a townhome in Manhattan Beach, you might be wondering, do I have leverage because supply is higher, or do I still need to move fast? Both can be true depending on the listing. The best homes can still go quickly. The weaker homes are where patience can create opportunity. Your posture is high standards, slow enough to be smart, and fast enough to not miss the rare great fit. Let me give you a quick scoreboard. No new numbers, just decision, meaning single family is scarce, slower, and reset. The risk for sellers is misalignment, not collapse. The risk for buyers is waiting for perfection in a thin market. Condos and townhomes are more balanced on supply, and outcomes split between chosen quickly and ignored quietly. The risk for sellers is assuming the median applies to their unit. The risk for buyers is hesitating on the A-grade unit you actually want while negotiating hardest on the wrong target. If you want me to translate this scoreboard into a regret minimizing plan for your home, that's what a one-on-one strategy call is for. We'll map out your property type, your street level friction, and what the most likely buyer objections will be, then choose a posture that fits your timeline and risk tolerance. You can schedule that using the link below. If you prefer to start with numbers, grab HomeBot through the link in the description, and we'll use it as your baseline. Now the neighborhood math is done. Let's talk about the forces you won't see on a CMA, but you will feel in buyer psychology. I'll keep this short. As of January 29, 2026, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate was 6.10%, down from 6.95% a year earlier. On January 28, 2026, the Fed held the federal funds target range at 3.5 to 3.75%, and two members dissented in favor of a cut, which is a meaningful signal that the Fed is watching economic slowdown risk. And the leading demand indicator has been cautious, with pending home sales down 9.3% month over month in the latest national read. In plain English, rates are still a headwind, but the environment is stable enough to transact and buyers are acting deliberate. For you as a seller, that means your strategy has to do more work. For you as a buyer, that means you should think in monthly payments and total cost, not just headline price. Quick question for you, because your answer changes the plan. What's the bigger issue for you right now? Getting the price right, getting the timing right, or getting surprised by something like construction or rates after you commit? Drop that in the comments below and tell me which part of the Manhattan Beach you're in, because the next session hits different blocks differently. Now, structural change, because in Manhattan Beach, friction is often local. The biggest development story for El Porto is the High Rose El Porto project, also called the Verandas project, at 401 Rosecrans Avenue and 3770 Highland Avenue. It's a 79-unit apartment building, 4 stories with 127 parking spaces. That changes density and traffic feel, and it introduces new rental competition, especially for older duplex-style inventory nearby. The biggest construction story near Sepulveda is Sunrise Senior Living at 250 400 North Sepulveda Boulevard at the southeast corner of 5th Street. Construction began in January 26. It's planned for 95 assisted living and memory care units, with an estimated timeline of about 20 months and completion projected for late 2027. That is a long time for noise and disruption to be part of a buyer showing experience for nearby streets. Finally, there are ongoing coastal reinvestment signals. Discretionary projects under review include 1316 The Strand, posted January 13, 2026, along with 113 25th Street and 333 20th Street, posted in December 2025. Even in a reset, high-end rebuilding activity is still happening, which supports the long-term premium story for the best coastal locations. Here's the 3-beat story of why this matters in plain English. First, Manhattan Beach is adding visible projects and infrastructure work that changes the day-to-day experience of certain pockets. Second, buyers are more deliberate. In a deliberative market, visible friction reduces urgency and increases negotiation leverage. Third, ground zero is your street. If you're near a Porto development, near Sepulveda construction, or near immediate street work, timing and narrative matter more than usual. Your plan has to account for what buyers feel during a showing, not just what a spreadsheet says. So here's the central conflict of February 2026. Scarcity is protecting Manhattan Beach from a true distressed unwind. Friction and valuation resets are keeping buyers disciplined. That's fragile stability. My bottom line is this: the homeowners who win this spring are not the ones who guess the exact bottom or top. They're the ones who manage risk. They use the KPIs as guardrails. They choose a posture that fits their life, and they avoid the 2 regrets that haunt sellers: chasing last year's number or letting the market slowly grind them down. So how do you play your cards? If you want a plan plan that's built for your property type in your street, schedule a one-on-one strategy call using the link below. We'll decide whether a clean exit, a maximized posture, or a monitored posture fits your situation, and we'll build a pricing and timing plan around the realities of February 2026. If you want to start quietly, grab HomeBot through the link in the description and we'll use it to map your equity and options. I'm Hernandez, and I'll see you in the next video.